the cloud. So it's all contained within Brightspace. So if you wanted to, just copy the link and open it in a different browser, that's fine too. But I can work with this. This isn't too bad. I'll take you through the pie chart and the dot plot. Definitely, I'm a little scroll crazy right now. How to make a dot plot by hand, how to make a pie chart by hand, but by hand, I keep saying that, using technology. Right? The whole hope here is that you'd have some tools in your toolbox. I know that's cliche, but that allow you to be able to, construct these things without having to get out colored pencils and things like that. All right, so I'm going to walk you through. On the second tab, you see blank examples here. That's what we're going to work through. But then we have solved examples. If you want to see the finished product, this is what they all ought to look like. I got everything up here already. I got box plot, I got a stem plot, and so on. That you can take a look at that. And then this would be your actual assignment. All right, so the assignment tab. So what you would do is you'd go in and hit File, select Make a Copy. All right. It looks like, well, you'd want to be signed in first, but it's all grayed out here, and that I would imagine that's because I'm not signed in. All right. But what we're going to do to create a pie chart is select the information, the relevant information, and that would be, oops. Yeah, I'm not gonna really love this format right now, but that's all right. Yeah, so you're going to go to Insert. I do have to sign in. Okay, well, fortunately, I'm signed in anyway. So highlight, Insert, Chart, et voila. It's sometimes it's just the way you want it, but sometimes it's related to something that you did previously, and it's just remembering that. In most cases, it comes up with a bar chart. All right. So when you highlight the relevant information, you don't need the titles of each of the column, just the actual categories: seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, and their counts. When you select Insert Chart, it's going to bring up some kind of graph. If you don't like the one, or if the one that they bring up is not relevant, then you hit the little drop down for pie in chart type and find the one that you're looking for. So for example, if I wanted a bar graph, I would select column chart. It looks great, but not what I'm looking for. When you try this on your own, it's very possible that the bar chart may come up first, and that you'll have to toggle to, well, they give you some suggestions, but if they don't, you go down to the one that says pie chart, and it'll make the appropriate graph. Now, if you highlight the information the correct way, then what should happen is each little sector of the circle should be labeled with your categories. The percentages correspond to the counts, and the title of your graph will be the same as the title of your count column. All right, so number of students, it works out. Now, if you want to get more specific and say number of students at JJHS, John Jay High School, in case you're wondering, you could do that, but it's not necessary. So that's a pie chart. It's the easiest thing. It's nice and easy to get you started. But then you have the dot plot, and I just realized belatedly that this column shouldn't be here. So let me get rid of that, because that's the most important thing. We need to be able to do that, make that second column on our own, right? So how do you make a dot plot? The first thing that you're going to need to do, because there is no dot plot function in Excel or Google Sheets. We're using Google Sheets, but either way. But we could use a scatter plot instead, right? Which is really nice. It's not always, I would say, user-friendly to try to take their graphs and make it suit our needs. But in this case, it's not bad. But we do need one other piece of information. That column I just deleted, that's what we need to come up with. And it's not a foregone conclusion that you're just going to look at it and say, well, these are the numbers that should be there. All right. What we do is we rank each of the values in the column of data that we have according to how many of those values there are. All right. So for example, I'm just going to, I'll hop to like the 4s here for just very quickly. All right. So I have 4 4s. This 4 is the first 4 in my list. All right. Actually, let me highlight it just so it's obvious what I'm talking about. All right. This is the first 4 in the list. I have 4 4s. This is my second 4, my third 4, and my fourth 4. All right. So we're ranking them in order based off of position in the list. So first 4, second, third, fourth. All right. The reason I didn't start with the 0 is because there's only 1 0, but it is in the list, in my list of zeros, it's occupying the first and only position. For my 2s, I have 3 of them. This is the first 2. This is the second 2. This is the third 2. For the 3s, I have 2 of them. This is my first 3. This is my second 3. For the 5s, I have 2 of them. This is my first 5. This is my second 5. I only have 1 6, the one and only. I have 4 7s. So this is my first 7, my second, my third, and my fourth. I have 2 9s. This is my first 9. This is my second 9. I have 2 13s. This is my first 13. This is my second 13. All right. So basically, we're ranking each streak of numbers, or we call it a run of numbers. All right. So any consecutive values in the list, right? So consecutive cells in the list containing the same value. All right. So then what we do is we highlight the data and go to insert. Again, chart. It's always going to be chart. It's going to assume what you're trying to do. It's going to think, okay, well, this is probably what you want. It's not what I want. What I want is the scatter plot, the one that says scatter. They say scatter chart. And it looks like this. And this is what the dot plot ought to look like. The only issue, well, 2 issues. One, a couple of these dots are cut off. And the other issue is the labeling. Histogram of how to make a dot plot, I guess. I mean, it's kind of sort of right. That's what we did, but it's really not a histogram. It's a scatter plot. It's a dot plot. So I could actually just get rid of this, right? The way to do that is to go into the customize menu. So hit customize, and I'm going to start with the titles, chart and axis titles. Chart style, I mean, you could get into that if you want to change the border colors and stuff like that. I tend to ignore that. The default is usually fine by me. So chart and axis titles, my chart title, I'm just going to wipe that out. All right. In this drop down, you could also change the axis titles. So if I go to horizontal axis title, that'll give me this. Runs scored by AL over 21 All-Star games. And that's what these are. So that's fine. The vertical axis, I don't want that to say how to make a dot plot. So vertical axis, I can either wipe that out because I think it's pretty obvious what the vertical axis is talking about, or I can say counts. All right. So these are the counts of instances in which there were no runs scored, 2 runs scored, 3 runs scored, and so on. You look at the scale on the bottom, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's fine. I mean, there are some odd numbers here, but it's pretty clear that halfway between 2 and 4, which is 3, there are 2 data points. So mission accomplished. You don't have to go looking to make it any more complicated than it needs to be. All right. If you want to modify the horizontal axis, though, you can go down and just put in particular values. You know, I think we're good, though, because all the data seems to be showing up. My 13s are over here. That's the highest number. So I'm not really worried about that. But if you wanted to change it, you could. I mean, if maybe you only want to look at part of the graph, right? Maybe you only want to look at the values from 6 to 9. I don't know. Like, I don't know why that would be necessary, but you know, you can modify it in any way you want. All right, as long as the data points show up and you have appropriate labels. All right. I accidentally hit reverse order. You saw what happened there. Not too many instances where we would need that. All right. But if I want to label my vertical axis or change the scale of my vertical axis, I can do that also. And that I do want to do because my points up here are barely visible. If I can go up a little higher than 4, that would make this look a little nicer. So I'm going to change the max value to a 5. And now all the points show up on the graph. All right. So you could do that. The grid lines and ticks, this is more like, you know, it's all in the category of customized, but it's really, if you want to make it look a little nicer, you could do some things, you know, get rid of the major grid lines, minor grid lines, if you want to throw them in. We don't really have a need for them, but, you know, you can play around with the colors and stuff like that. You know, this is more like accessorizing rather than just getting the job done. Right. So what we have here, let me just close this out, is an appropriately labeled and graphed dot plot. All right. So that's really all I'm looking for, except when you do it, you're doing it in the assignment. Right. So you're looking at, well, I changed the order. This is a stem plot, but the pie chart is the first one. Where's my dot plot? This is dot plot. Number of shutouts in an NHL season. Right. So you'll make a dot plot for this data set. Right. But all in the assignment. These are just examples. So you can do this stuff for practice, but this won't factor into your grade on the tech assignment. Only what you produce in the assignment tab. All right. So very, very important. So what I'll do at this point is, I think, call it a night, because, you know, if people have questions, you know, that's always the plan. You know, around 9:30 is what I'd like to do in terms of ending class. I suppose I can stop the recording too.